Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. I am, as always, Chat Show. How are you? How was your week? The lovely Brittany Snow here last week. What an angel. What an absolute angel. Her fans in the chat room. Corey, was there strange things going on? It really was bizarre, right? Off-putting? There was a whole faction of like 17-year-old lesbians who want her character from Pitch Perfect to be partnered up with another character in Pitch Perfect. Was that the story I loosely remember?
That's the shipping that was discussed. That's the official term, is shipping.
And shipping refers to?
Relation shipping.
Oh, yes.
You got to know this
guess had the
lingo.
perfect response. I felt a little vomit come right up to about here. Relation shipping.
I think they just go with shipping.
Oh, and then they brief. Oh, God. Well, thank you, Brittany, and your fans, honestly. Huh? Much love and thanks to the West Side Comedy Theater. That's what we're coming to you from here live in the Santa Monica, California area. If you're ever in the west side of Los Angeles, you want to see an improv or stand-up show, sketch show on occasion, check the calendar, go to West Side Comedy Theater. It really is kind of a great place. Some remarkable stand-ups have come through here. Zach Galifianakis, Dave Chappelle, turned on our friend Dana Carvey, who now does a monthly show here just to fuck off. And but improv groups that come through here are it's the West Side's answer to UCB. What more do you need to know, you son of a bitch? Upcoming guests, sure, I'll tell you. Michael Peel. Do you like the Key and Peele? I'm a big fan myself. Anybody?
Like him.
Somebody?
Yes.
They're as subversive and hilarious as it gets. We had Jordan Key. No, it's Jordan Peele.
Jordan
so it's
Peele.
Keegan-Michael Key.
Keegan-Michael Key.
I've got to get these names correct.
They should put their full names in the name of the show. It'd be
You know what they
easier
should have? They should have less convoluted, annoying names also. Keegan-Michael Key. That's not a... How can I... All right.
It is a lot.
How
to
am I
remember.
supposed to... At least with Kevin Pollak, it's clunky, but you get through it. Jane Lynch also coming up. Al Jean, are you a fan of The Simpsons? I think our guest today actually appeared on The Simpsons. We're going to talk about that. Because our own Jamie Foxx, who is out today, but sitting in. Also Sam Levine out today. We have the Corey Levin joining us. But, of course, we all know of Jamie's love of all things Simpsons. Her first tattoo reflects it. Al Jean, showrunner, longtime head writer for The Simpsons, I believe is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. But check the thing, check the Twitter, check the listing, check the Facebook. Write to us, won't you? KPCS fanmail at gmail.com. That's KPCS, as in Kevin Pollak's Chat Show, fanmail at gmail.com. We do have, you can send us your Larry King games, maybe win yourself a T-shirt. How do you win a T-shirt? Well, what our guest doesn't know is that at the end of the show, he gets to play the little thing we like to call the Larry King game, where you reenact. Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Where you reenact some of Larry's brilliance. That brilliance being right before he would go to the phones, he would look down the barrel, as I am now, and share something about himself that I promise you no one wanted to know. Not a soul, not one. Not one person said, no, you're wrong. I wanted to know that. So when you play Larry King game, you do a bad Larry King impression, not a good one. I don't want a good one. I want a bad one. Bad one's funny. This is a fun game to play at parties, by the way, we found out. You just go around in a circle. And then you share something about yourself as Larry, not about yourself, but about Larry, like his first pterodactyl ride, whatever it is. You know what? Jamie's not here to bust my balls. I'm going to give you the prototype. I'm going to call out the prototype from 6.5 years ago when the game started. Thanksgiving. I like to teabag the gravy boats. Schenectady, hello. That, my friends, is how you play the Larry King game. He shared something about himself, then he goes to the phone. Schenectady being the city. And if the city is funny sounding, maybe where you're from, that's how you play the game. So here's today's winner. It comes from John Wilson, also a made-up name, from Louisville, Kentucky. One scorching summer weekend in '73, I found myself, sounds like Krusty the Clown. I found myself in a foursome with Rock Hudson, Suzanne Plachette, Gina Lollobrigida. Looking back, I suspect this was the time that pushed Rock to commit fully to the gay. Camel Toe, Idaho, you're on the air. I'm not sure Larry actually ever said you're on the air, but John Wilson, with your phony name, you get yourself a T-shirt. Be kind enough to include your size and your mailing address, otherwise very hard to get you the T-shirt. and to know which one. One of those T-shirts, by the way, in the gift bag, we should not let our guests leave today without. Got a travel mug version.
What?
It's the only podcast with a gift bag. Why? I'm an idiot. Let's be honest. There's no sponsored gifts in there. There's nothing from Chanel. Anywho. So thank you for your submission, John Wilson. Still don't believe that's your name. How do you do the show? Do you watch us on the YouTube? Do you subscribe? Should you? Yes. Maybe you listen to us every Tuesday when the show drops on Earwolf. iTunes. Write to us. Let us know. Please. We'd love to hear from you. Corey, last-minute additions before I get to our guest.
No.
Thank you. That's the correct answer. Sam Levine will be back soon. He's off in the land of Austin, Texas.
Is that a real place?
Starring in a series. Austin, Texas, not only a real place, the only reason not to burn down the entire state. Please welcome my guest, Mr. Don Cheadle. There it is. You. All right. Very simple. So thank you for coming in here on your Sunday.
Very glad to be here, Kevin.
If you were not here, what football would you be watching? Is it a thing in the house?
I do watch the football, although
Sure.
today I would also trying to be watching the championship. I mean, this is the last day. Jordan Spieth is leading. I kind of want to see. I'd be flipping around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to watch the golf too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've been playing for a long time.
Yeah, I guess now it's like 15, 16 years.
But you did start later in life,
I
clearly.
did start later, which
And-
is why I'm not that good.
But how does something like that happen, where you just say, you know what, I'm going to do this now?
Well, I kind of got tired of being left at home, and my dad would go, and my uncle would go, and
Oh.
his son would go, and I'd be home playing with the girls, which was fine for. It wasn't fine.
No.
I was very upset, and I felt neglected, so I wanted to actually start learning how to play.
Right. And this is where? Here?
No, this is when I lived in Denver, Colorado.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the dossier, which, as I threatened you, we have, suggested you graduated from high school in Denver, Colorado.
I did. East High Angels.
But you started life in Kansas, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Kansas City, Missouri, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's a teacher, dad's a clinical psychologist. So no pressure at all to be smarter than the average bear?
There was, but I wasn't.
No.
So the
You went the
pressure
other
was
way?
there, but I went the other way and was like, you know what, I'm gonna do this acting thing.
Yeah, because you started, like me, it appears somewhere around the age 10-ish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my parents were just happy that I found something that I was interested in. I don't know that there was any...
That you were expected to achieve much earlier than that. That like you're a slacker at 10 years old. Like, what are you gonna do for a living, Kevin?
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
were the
Or
evening
that
conversations.
when you go from either class clown or desperate need for attention at age 10
Right.
to I want to act in plays and then take it seriously at all.
Right.
Because somewhere in the dossier you were quoted as saying that you might have holed up at a donut shop going over your script making notes.
I did do that. I did do that. I was for some reason very serious with it, or I was just trying to get high off of that, the fluid that they
Yeah.
used to use on the copies.
mimeograph?
Yeah, that was such good high business.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff. But yeah, for some reason I don't even know why I can't recall, but I really wanted to know. I played Templeton the Rat in Charlotte's Web, and I really wanted to know like what would a rat do at the fair, and what would he eat first, and what would his go-to food be, and I watched the animated version of it a bunch, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna do it like Paul Lynde. But,
Although clearly a choice.
it was definitely a choice, but I was kind of serious about it.
But had you read in a book, had you seen an interview where someone talked about breaking down a script and a character?
No.
You were just playing.
Yeah, I was just playing, and I wanted to know all the lines and be off book and really have all the songs down cold. To me, it was just really make-believe at its highest level that I had that,
But I don't know a 10-year-old that has discipline.
I don't either. And I guess it's one of those things where it's like these golfers that talk about golf. Like,
Yeah.
The ones that usually do well are not the ones that have been pushed. They're the ones that
Found
are
it.
pushing. Yeah, they found it, and they're pushing their parents. They're going, I want to go back out there. I want to do it again. They're the ones that are kind of driving the boat. They're not being, pushed in this position. It's something that happens inside that they just spark to it.
That's pretty damn
they love it.
fascinating, actually.
Yeah, and I don't know how you ever. It just happens. And
Yeah.
it kind of just happened for me.
Yeah. My dad got my brother and I out on the golf course when we were, I think, about 10 and 12. He's 2 years older, my brother. And why are you dragging us out of bed at 6 in the morning? What's
Right.
happening?
Right.
It's a Saturday.
Is the house
What's
on
the matter
fire?
with you? Yeah, exactly. Is the house on fire? No? We're going to walk on the wet grass again?
There's cartoons to watch.
I'm 10.
Right.
Also, I'm tiny.
Yeah.
This golf club doesn't feel good at all.
Yeah.
But I did end up, I don't know if loving it, but I did end up liking it enough to start to play regularly on my own. I played on the varsity team in high school, but
Oh, wow.
I was fifth man on a five-man team, and I think I was probably a 10 at best. I never got any better than, I wasn't shooting in the
That's-
70s ever. But a 10
Yeah.
at 17 was, but again, fifth man, so, you know, the guy who was first on the team was probably a scratch golfer at 17.
Right.
Which
And he
just,
probably hadn't gone on to do anything. I
Nope.
mean, it's so hard. It's
No.
just so hard.
West Valley Honda, I think,
There you
is where you'll find him. No. That's a weird person to pluck from my own history and throw under the bus.
Right.
Why?
go. Right. I don't know.
I'm such an asshole, I can't even remember his name.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure he works at West Valley Honda.
Yeah, but I've given him a location of work. So the things you find, because at 10 I was lip syncing Bill Cosby's first album,
Right.
and to hear this voice telling these stories coming out of the 7-foot wide stereo hi-fi, which was a piece of furniture
Right.
back then. Compare that to the Nano. And seeing my parents laugh uncontrollably at this guy telling stories from the furniture.
Yeah, you're like, I gotta do that.
I got to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So when nobody was around, I would sit in front of it and eventually memorized it, and eventually stood in front of it when nobody was around, and it was lip syncing, without knowing that lip syncing was a thing.
Right.
Nor did I think I'd created a thing. I was just playing, like you said.
Yeah, you're just playing.
I was just getting into it.
Yeah.
So when you finally did that work of understanding everything about that particular rat,
Right.
and you brought it on stage and got your first response from the audience,
Yeah.
are you just hooked for life?
I kind of was. I mean, I think that was it. When you see the reaction that people, when you see that it happens, and then you know, as obviously being a performer, when you're kind of, you know, attenuating it too, and you're like, oh, if I step on this foot, it gets a little bigger, and if I sit back, they lean forward, and it's like, oh my God, I'm a conductor up here. I'm kind of in control of this a little bit. And where else are you like that in your life at 10 years old?
Never.
Never. You're not running anything.
No.
So I was like, wow, I'm completely in charge right now in this situation.
You can't even control candy intake
Yeah, no.
at 10.
No.
No. You get what you're given.
That's it.
What an amazing revelation to realize there's a bit of control.
Yeah, and the only place that and music too was
Sure.
something that I came to around the same time, and it was a similar thing, that this is a singular experience that I'm having right now. Even though I'm up here with everybody else, there's a part of it that's just mine, and I'm kind of the captain of it, you know, in this moment.
Yeah.
And that was always fun. I always loved being, you know, a part of a team, and
Sure.
you know, us all playing and throwing the ball and challenging each other to get more and more. And I had great teachers. You know, I was very lucky to have a teacher named Barbara Althouse, who was our drama teacher at that age. You know, their drama, their
Yeah.
music,
Yeah.
their everything that you do that's in the arts.
Right.
And she was just very good and understood story and let us play and kind of gave us our head, so to speak, to do what we wanted to do. And so it was very liberating and a lot of fun.
Makes all the difference in the world to have the teacher's head in the right space. And
Yeah.
I found I was absolutely as interested as the teacher was going to inspire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when they weren't,
You're why show up?
yeah, completely out the window, what's going on out there.
Yeah, and if you get it early, it's great too, because as you grow and as you get older and bump into more people and have more experiences, then you can kind of go, this one isn't as good as my 5th grade teacher. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
this person understood more about. So you kind of keep going back to the things that worked, and it was always about play.
Yeah.
And always reminding yourself, this is about, I mean, even when we have the best props and all the best bells and whistles and the toys and all that, we're still at the root of it, just being able to play.
Yeah.
And
Now.
Yeah, even now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do find the need and desire constantly to remind everyone around me on the set of anything that if we're not having fun, what is the fucking point?
Yeah. for
Honestly
real.
and truly.
Yeah, for real.
I mean, we're at the helm of a career and a trajectory and the responsibility of something if you're producing or writing or directing. As actors, we're just, guns for hire. But if you started at 10 with writing a backstory for a character, what is happening by the time you get to high school and plays and then, I know for university you came even further west.
Right.
To
Cal Arts.
Yeah. For no other reason, for music and theater both?
Well, when I graduated from high school, and I had a great high school teacher too, who introduced me to Stanislavski and Uta Hagen.
What?
Yeah, it was. I thought that was. You don't know that's unusual.
Yes.
You think, oh yeah, that's what you do in high school.
Right.
This is a high school drama teacher, and we were writing our own plays in school, and just so much work. And then I got to college and met other students, and they didn't know what upstage and downstage was. They didn't know basic stuff about theater. And
Sure.
I was like, wow, that's when I realized how good she was.
Right.
And you start hearkening back to, and that's how I realized how good that my first teacher was. It's like they were really serious about it and really wanted to give that to the students in a substantive way that they could take forward. And she introduced me to Cal Arts. So
So you're a senior, and she's saying, "Here's where you made."
Here's some schools. There's Carnegie Mellon's a good school, NYU, Cal Arts, all these schools. If you want to pursue this, and I knew that I was going to pursue that, or I had scholarships to pursue jazz too, vocal jazz and instrumental jazz, and I really, in deference to real musicians and what they do and how they do it, I just knew I wasn't going to be that guy. I knew that it required an amount of discipline and commitment and study that I just wasn't going to commit to that.
Right.
Although I loved music and always kind of got away with it because I have a great ear, so I could always improv well because I could work around it. But theory, solfege, all that stuff, I would white eye. I would just go over my head, and you have these blocks that I imagine if someone studied my brain, they might be able to say, well, this is why you go blank when these things happen. You can't think this is not a way that your brain works.
Yeah.
But I just thought my friends who were doing it, they're just better than me. I just had this sort of inferiority complex about it and would talk myself out of being able to learn all that theory.
Huh.
And I went, I'm just not going to be able to do that. And I had acting scholarships too, and I went, I'm going to pursue that and see where that leads me.
Right.
And it's funny now that I've kind of come full circle. We'll talk about it later,
With
I
the
guess,
miles.
but that it's all come back together.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But write what you know, but also if you can bring all the tools that you've been working on for your whole life now
Yeah.
towards a project like Miles, you had to have felt like you were contributing on all cylinders firing.
Yeah, and I had to. I
Right.
mean, having done it, where you're doing all the heavy lifting. You're like, oh wait, I have to raise money too.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I have to
Cast this thing.
I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like only if you want it to happen.
Right.
And it's was a many year journey now, like 9 years.
Right.
Of when from inception to creation.
Didn't it start with his son giving an interview saying Don Cheadle should play my father in a movie?
Yeah, his nephew said
nephew.
it. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
And they said, are you ever going to do a movie about his life? He said, yeah, and Don Cheadle's going to play him.
And that was the first you heard of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd elliptically heard of stuff around because
Sure.
it's been in the ether for a long time.
As it should.
Mtume, was one of the people that had played with him, had spoken to someone about it and spoken to me about it. So they've been trying to get some sort of a life story about him for years. And it would come across my radar. People would go, do you know anything about this thing that we're trying to do? I'm like, no. And it would fall apart. Nothing would happen.
Right.
And a couple years later, somebody go, we're trying to get this thing going, and maybe you should be a part of it. And I was like, as soon as there's something to talk about, let me know, and we'll talk about it.
Right.
But it never came to pass. And then, as we were talking about, Vince Wilburn, who's Miles' nephew, who played with him, was asked if they're going to do something about his life, and he said, yeah, and Don's going to play him. And the next day, I got a call from somebody representing the family saying, we want to meet and talk about
How to do this.
How to do it. And so I met with them, and they had obviously been pitched for years, different concepts and different stories and different ideas. And So they kind of pitched me all the ideas about the way they wanted to do it, and they were all kind of cookie cutter, you know, just basic biopic kind of things. And I think I was already at that point just kind of tired of biopics.
Sure.
I'd done Sammy, I'd done, you know, Talk to Me, I'd done Hotel Rwanda. I didn't want to be constrained by the facts. You know,
Right.
I was like, I want
Where's
to
the
play
fun?
a character. Yeah, I know that they did that, but why didn't they? I would have loved it if they'd gone this way. And
Yeah, I saw in the
can't do
research, there's a point where you said you read in his words, and then I laid my instrument down for 5 years. And you said, ooh, what was going on then?
yeah, what's happening in those 5 years?
Yeah.
When you stop, how does that train just shut it down?
And it's your whole life.
Yeah. And everything that you talk about, you know, like you said, from his words of being the whole reason to live, that's all that it's about is the music. Everything is, you know, secondary, tertiary, way down the line to the music. And now you just shut it down. And it didn't play for 5 years. Didn't touch the horn.
Wow.
So yeah.
How is that not the most fascinating part of
Right.
the whole story?
And it's this, you know, and in his autobiography, it's this many pages, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but that's the part I kind of want to know about.
Right. And what are these sources of what was going on?
They're very few. I mean, there's a bunch of apocryphal information, you know, but the truth is, people would show up to the house and he'd crack the door and like take them food and shut the door, and they wouldn't see him for months. They wouldn't see him for weeks, months.
Sally.
And it was, I just also thought, okay, well, there's a lot of poetic license in this area too.
Sure.
And then even beyond that, of just having the opportunity to write whatever we wanted in there, I was very strongly motivated by what I believe to be my patron saint's own instructions, which were, don't do it like you've done it before. You know, go forward. Don't fuck it. There are no mistakes. Don't fear mistakes. There are none. Just leap off the ledge and try to do something new.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to push it. I was like, well, that's what we need to be doing. I don't want to do a cradle to grave story and hit all the benchmarks that most people don't know about or give a shit about anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, when did he meet Charlie Parker? Like, how is that relevant to his story? If that doesn't have something to do with something important that helps a film,
Right.
not just an important piece of a story, but it's like, we're making a movie. It's still got to entertain and engage and do things that a movie has to do, not just give information. The docs do that way better. They have way more time to do
Absolutely.
it. The books do it way better. You know, we got 90 minutes to try and like hook people.
Entertain, surprise, move.
That's it.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm trying to do in that time period.
And so how much the writer comes in, a script's already there, what?
Well, so initially we went out to a couple of writers I hired that I thought their not basic, I mean, they had written a lot of biopics at that point. And I thought, okay, well, these guys know where the bodies are buried. If we want to violate the form, they'll know exactly how to do it and where to do it. And okay, well, this is the trope, so let's go this way. You
Great.
know? And it just turned out that, and I was in the writing process with them, that we just didn't get it far enough away from home base, I thought. And while we were in this process, and we had sold the movie to HBO at that time, who had Picture House as another entity, and it was the family's decree that this movie have a theatrical release.
Right.
So great, we'll go to HBO after it's had its theater life. But at that point, HBO and Picture House, that was their theatrical distribution arm, and then they were going to then go to cable after that.
Sure.
That relationship fell apart.
Of course.
Bob Burney went away, no more Picture House. So to their credit, HBO said, we have no more holds on this piece because we promised it to you in a certain way.
Yep.
They didn't say, it's ours. When
Which
you
they
get it set
could've.
up, they absolutely could have
Yeah.
and kept it and said, oh, well. But they said, you know, if you get it set up, that's great. Go with God. We have no claims on this. So,
And there you are with nothing again.
and there we are with nothing again. And then the financial collapse happened, and no one was spending any money on anything
No.
anywhere.
You want to do what?
Yeah.
What have you
sorry.
done?
Yeah. Who are you?
Yeah, the who are you, they got covered. And that's the thing I wanted to ask, which is, I remember the first time I set out to direct something that I wrote, it turned out, according to my agent anyways, in the hype and illusion of show business, that I had more street cred as a first-time director because of an acting career than a director who directed 10 films and his last 3 did horribly.
Yeah.
Because of the hype and illusion.
That's right.
So it's either what have you done lately, or if you're first time, you get whatever street cred is based on your acting chops.
Yeah.
And your success. And so I thought in going over the dossier that there must have been times where you felt people just wanted to be in business with you in terms of moving the project forward. So, false promises and opportunities. So maybe you covered that when you were saying you would see things come and go before it solidified?
Well, I think this one was particularly hard because it seems so niche.
Yeah.
It's jazz. Okay, that's in their minds like, okay, let's cut $7 million off of it right there, because who the fuck cares about jazz? You know, a lot of people, but I don't see how that translates into movie going and tickets, and so they can't quantify that as something that means anything.
Not if 14-year-olds are the number one ticket buying audience.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's period, potentially, and when they're thinking jazz, period, it's like, okay, let's cut some more out of that. It's black. It's like, well, jazz, period, black. Now we can't sell it overseas. These are all the stories that they tell themselves, that they being financiers who are going to spend the money.
They look at an algorithm.
It's it.
That's been around since the 60s.
That's it.
And
so
you want to update that?
Yeah. So with those metrics, nobody was piling on to make this movie.
You got to go raise the money.
We had to go raise the money. And for that, you need, an irrational financier who's
A gambler.
a gambler. And just because they love it,
Right.
and they're like, I don't care. I'll take a haircut on this potentially, and if the upside is big, then I'll be the greatest, fortune teller in the world. But
Like some of the people I met with on a project said, I just don't want to look like an asshole. So just, I don't have to make anything with the money.
yeah,
It'd be great if we did, but I don't have to. Just don't make me look like that asshole who.
was stupid enough to spend the money on this
Yeah.
thing, and really, there's a component of that look, were I a financier and I was going to give somebody 8 million, 10 million, 12 million, whatever of my money to do it, I may say the same exact thing. If I had it like that, I don't necessarily need to make a killing off of this, but I want there to be a quality thing at the end of the day. I want us to be able to go to the theater and go, we made that, and
Right.
feel good about it at
Yeah.
least. And I
It's a
think
piece of
that
art.
It's a piece of art. But I think the economics, it helps us to be able to, as filmmakers, do it for a price that makes sense.
Right.
So that you can do it again. And that, people, even if they make a modest profit, because most movies are losing, So even if you can make your money back or make a modest profit, you have the opportunity to do it again and to encourage people to come into that, because we need them. Because, as you know, it's the tent poles or it's the scratching like crazy and trying to find some money and rob somebody or hit somebody in the head in the alley.
Yeah,
That's
patron
it.
saints. Patron saints, speaking of which, the Pope is touring at present.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I like that he doesn't have the hat on, because that always bugged me.
Which one?
The big, tall, pointy one.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't mind it for certain ceremonies, but come on.
If you're gonna meet the people and make the rounds,
Yeah.
and talk about serious stuff,
Yeah, relax. with
which
the
is what
pointy
everyone
hat.
loves about this Pope,
Yeah.
that he's taken on some serious conversations.
Yeah, he's meeting with the sexual abuse victims from.
That happened earlier today.
Yeah.
And it's just remarkable.
No, I think he's great.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been reading enough of the even potential discussion of. I guess the only thing that's seeped through in terms of negativity about this guy, the only thing that's seeped through is people waving the flag of the child abuse issue, which they should, which it should never stop be waving. It should be a 21-gun attack. But it's never going to be enough. So if we get a pope that's talking about it,
Yeah.
then stop yelling just for long enough to let him speak.
Right.
It's important that they're yelling. It's important that they're saying not enough is being done. But I wasn't reading too much yelling and screaming, why isn't he doing more? It seemed like the general tone was appreciation that he's making any effort
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and that's the first step, and he's probably the first one that's acknowledged it to the level that he has.
Sure.
And the fact that he's even meeting with the victims of it is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes beyond.
Because he could easily palm that off and hand it to the Cardinals and
just talk about it.
Yeah. And
Just
never
talk
get-
about it and make history by just talking about it.
Right.
So, yeah, I felt it was maybe important to bring the Pope in the discussion
I think it is.
today.
I think it is.
Why not?
Did we book him for next week yet?
You know what?
I'll call him.
I got the.
I'll call him after.
Yeah, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Not during it. We
let's
don't want the Pope cutting
Keep
into
the
our time.
phones off right now. Pope on 2. I want to work in that office. Pope's on 2. So I want to stay in the Miles realm. So the struggle to get the script in the right shape, and then the realization of you've got to do everything. Because I was telling people recently when they were asking about this movie that I just directed, first time they said, I directed a documentary which was just talking heads, and it was all about the 10 months of editing for that. But this was, if you want to be the only opinion that matters among a group of people, either 30 to 100 on any given day, if you want to be the only opinion that matters 14 hours a day, then you should direct a movie. But even being told that, because I'd had other filmmakers on the show, and Jason Reitman, whoever, and they would say, Favreau, you're our friend, and they would say, you just need to have an answer for everything.
Everything.
Even if you don't have an opinion, you've got to have an answer.
Yeah, correct.
As much as you might have an instinct that says, you're the department head, you're the production designer, what do you think is the better color for that room?
Right.
I'd rather take advantage of your experience in the trenches, because I have none. All I actually have is my opinion or instinct on the question, on the matter.
Right.
And I was warned by everyone, no, you have to have an answer.
Right.
Because they're all looking to you.
Yeah.
Once you give your answer, they've all got an opinion to follow it with. Be open to that opinion.
Right.
And then another person...
But I don't know. It's not a good...
yeah. Another first-time director said, I had no... And he was an actor. So I had no idea how much I hated actors until I directed them. Because I had always been in the sandbox, playing, saying, why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Not knowing the director was thinking, why can't you just do it the way I just told you?
Just do what I say to do, you asshole.
I've thought this through for years.
Yeah.
I've rewritten or whatever. I've spent my life with this thing. You're working.
Yeah, but I don't think my character would say that. I don't think he would do that right now.
Yeah. There's a classic story that Josh Charles shared with me when he was doing Sports Night before Aaron Sorkin was just starting to realize that he was Shakespeare. And and Josh came to him like 3 episodes in. Hey, listen, there was just a line here in the dialogue where my character says, and Aaron allegedly said, yeah, let me stop you. I knew this day was coming, so let me be clear. These are not your characters. And so just say it, basically. So I always, as an actor, thought, that's the greatest asshole that ever lived. And then as soon as I got in behind the wheel, man,
You're like, listen.
I was like, holy shit.
I don't have
of course
time
they're
to-
not your characters. We can discuss your portrayal of my fucking characters and what you'd like to do with it. And I'm very open to your interpretation.
Right.
But at the end of the day, please understand, this is not your ship.
Right.
And also everyone on the set wanting to be led into battle. So how did, once you got into the helm, tell me about the early days of that experience.
Terrifying for me, and really exposing every insecurity that you have.
Yeah.
For me, it was anyway. I didn't walk on like, yeah, about goddamn time, let's do this thing. I was trying to do this dual job of be in character.
Yeah.
Direct from character.
Oh boy.
When you talk at this volume, People are like, what did he say? Are we talking to me? You know, it's like
I think he's talking to himself.
I think he's talking to himself. So it's like how trying to do that, balance that, stay me, be the director, be open, make decisions, all on a ticking clock.
And you're in a scene. You're supposed to be just inside Miles' head,
Yeah,
portraying this magical man, saying these words, being in the moment, and across from you is another actor who, as a director, you see is simply doing it wrong.
Yeah, there's something that's not happening.
How do you can't stay in character? How do you?
I don't know.
I mean, how do you begin to balance that?
I don't know that I did. I mean, I can't say that I was successful at any of it. All I can say is that
I did everything fairly well.
Yeah, I did my damnedest to do everything that I had to do, from also being the writer consistently there.
Yeah.
I co-wrote it,
Yeah.
but you know,
Once you're there.
I was there.
We were rewriting every day.
Yeah, of course. And directing it and being Miles and playing music and writing music and doing I would never do it like this again. I have no aspirations to be Kevin I'm sorry, what's his name? Help me. Dances with Wolves. Why can't I remember
Costner.
Kevin Costner, or I don't Mel Gibson. I don't need to do those things on that level, because and ultimately I think if I had had more time, you know, if there had been more money, which I'm sure everyone says, but when it's 6 weeks and $8 million, that's absolutely real. And 5 time periods, and only 3 weeks with Ewan McGregor, who played it. We only had 3 weeks with Ewan, and I had to shoot him all out, and all the other actors that were in that part of and then I had 3 weeks left with Imayatsi, the Francis period, and that was the 50s to 68. It's like, it was impossible. I don't know how I actually did it. And there were days when I contemplated not doing it anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. They will drive you to the edge of your capability.
Yeah.
And they being the people who run the production. So your UPM, your line producer, your producers, people who have your back, but at the same time are looking at the clock, looking at the budget. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. That's all they know is what you can't do. And there never seems to be a moment where they're stopping to go, I know what you need to do. I want to help you get there. That's as close as they get.
Well, I had a very interesting. I love my producer that was my on the ground day to day in and out, Pamela Hirsch, and she was great. But we were about 3 weeks into the shooting of the film, and I have another problem of mine, which is trying to be egalitarian and wanting everyone to be a part of it and have an experience that they're appreciate.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't serve you as a director,
No.
which is something that I had to learn by fire. This is like, oh no, I've just got to be like, you were fucking doing that, we're doing that, that's not happening, move this forward, let's go. Because they're looking at you like the captain of a ship, and you've got to know, like you said, you have to have an answer whether or not you have an opinion or not. So we were in a situation where we were shooting this one day, and we were kind of coming up against it, and I know too much too. I produced too much, so I know what we're up against. I know if we don't get this, what this means to the schedule tomorrow. I know how that's going to back us up. I know we're going to go into overtime. We're not going to be able to hire this second unit. I'm seeing all the way down the line from what's happening right now.
Chess moves.
If we don't make this scene. So I'm, trying
and what does that do to performance, and what does that do to coverage? How many angles you're shooting?
All of it.
Yeah.
And what you're not going to be able to shoot.
Right.
It's like, I know if we do this take 2 more times, we're not going to turn around. We're just not going to have time to turn around. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so now what are we going to do? I guess we're going to shoot this on Steadicam, because I've got to now make this 2-shot a oneer and get around here in the scene. So now we got to dress that over there, because I got to see over here. But I can't tilt up because we're in Cincinnati. We're not in New York. And the top of that building where the Arby's is not going to track. So we got it. So I'm doing all of this, trying to figure this out, and I just come up to Pam and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I have to get this shot. I'm doing this. We're gonna get the shot. I'm gonna go over it. And she said, look, if I don't come up to you and say there's a problem, just there's not a problem. And I said, okay, I'm glad you said that to me, because this is a communication thing, because I can't work in a negative. You have to come up to me and say, we're good, you've got another 3 hours, or you've got another 4 hours. Because if I don't hear that, I'm just in panic mode.
Right.
So I don't work off of what you're not telling me. I
Yes.
need you to tell me.
As long as I'm not bugging you, you're fine. That doesn't work.
That does not work for me. I need, this is what we have, you're
Update.
good, go this
Update.
much longer. Yeah, and once we got that down,
Yeah.
but it was a constantly a moving target, you know, and then once that worked, something else didn't work. And we were shooting it in a city that had, I think this was their third movie, like their second feature, but their third kind of parts of another movie had filmed there.
Right.
But this is only their second full feature. So everyone's kind of getting up to speed on an accelerated clock. You know, you're learning it while you're doing it, and
No.
it was constantly challenging. Obviously, you know you've done it. It's just it's like landing. It's like crash landing a plane. That's what my agent said to me. That someone said to him, doing a small budget movie is, the plane's gonna crash. It's just like, how many survivors, how much of this plane
Yeah.
are we gonna have when we land? Who's gonna die? Who's not gonna die? But it's crashing from when you take off.
The airline analogy is not only perfect, but I just realized I have a lot less respect for Sully than I thought I did. Yeah, he landed a plane on water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for you, Sully.
Hack.
Yeah.
He's a hack.
He's a hack.
That's it.
And I'm not watching
Sully.
your biopic either. How about that, Sully?
Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't going to go as far as hack, Corey. Thank you.
Well, somebody had to say it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad it was.
needed to be said.
I'm
It
glad
needed
it
to
was
be said.
said. I'm glad it was said by you.
I'll take the heat.
Yeah, but truly, every day there's a sense of behind it. Every day there's a sense of just keep your head down, your legs moving.
That's it.
Um,
What did Woody Allen say? Is that you say yes to the movie, and then the truck full of compromises back up to the door.
oh, I never heard that. That's
As
perfect.
soon as you go, here we go. It's like, okay, and here you not go.
Yeah.
All these things not to go.
Yeah, can't do this.
That's off the table.
Yeah, but I remember thinking and having conversations. But you realize how much better things would be if, and they say, yeah, of course we do.
Right.
But no.
right. But we're here now.
Yeah.
And you have 2 minutes to make the decision.
And then I guess you have to do it so many times before you realize, yeah, that's just what it is, man.
Exactly.
That's
And
just
how
what it
many
is.
directors have you talked to that have said the same thing? You say all this stuff and they go, yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And at some point during the process, you don't know whether you hate yourself or your movie more.
And now here's another thing we need to discuss, because I went from finishing the film in Bulgaria to being home for hours before going to a table read on a TV show I was starting and being just an actor.
Right.
Now I know you're longtime producer on House of Lies as well, and you're in the shit, but there can't be a comparison in terms of the responsibilities you had in the movie
Oh, no.
to returning to the set of House of Lies.
No. But I think probably you're not dissimilar in this fashion that you have probably never been just an actor.
Yeah, that's true.
You've probably never been just a writer, even when you were just the writer of the thing.
Yeah.
You
care about everybody, for sure.
Yeah, and
but
you're
there
in
wasn't
there.
a sense of the same.
No, they weren't coming to you to get the answer. You may have been offering the answer, but they weren't. It wasn't on you to give the answer.
I didn't have the sense of constant disasters and miracles
Right.
taking place
Right.
on the set. I observed them without as much to live and die for.
Right.
But there were times also when, well, you'll need to speak to the acting as well as directing. Because there were times, because my producers wanted me to act in the thing too, and because the budget was so low, I was able to cast great people and not have to be in front of the camera. Because that really does concern the hell out of me. But I talked to a few actors who turned to director beforehand. Tom Hanks being one of them, who had, so I said, you know, you've heard before, if you had one thing to do over, what would it be? And the truth is, it's a series of things you'd
That's right.
like to do over on a daily basis. But is there anything that comes to mind where it was sort of a tipping point of an education, where you thought, oh, right. So I'll give you his example and then think of one that you experienced. So he Tak Fujimoto, great cinematographer,
Yeah.
working with him, and Tom was directing That Thing You Do. And the scene is the four members of the band walking down the aisle of the first big theater that they're going to perform in. And they arrive and they see the theater and they walk to the stage, and it's ginormous, the stage, in their consciousness. And they have the dialogue as they walk down the aisle. So Tom Hanks says the night before at 3 in the morning, he wakes up with an epiphany about how to start the scene. Because when they location scouted, he suddenly remembered there was a larger than Pluto-sized chandelier hanging down from this landmark, historical landmark theater, from the ceiling. So he sees Tak Fujimoto at the breakfast burrito truck in the morning and says, I've got it. We're going to start on the chandelier. We're going to come down slowly, but we're going to start their dialogue as we're tilting down. We're not going to see them. We're just going to hear them talking. We'll catch up with who's saying what when they're about halfway down the aisle on the way to the stage. And Tak said, that sounds great. So why don't we bring the actors in and rehearse the scene and see what they're going to do. And Tom said, and then figure out where to put the camera, like we do every other time.
Yeah.
Tak said, yeah, let's do that. So then I met with Jason Reitman. Did a wonderful thing where he photographed storyboards now.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll bring his production designer, his DP, and some extras when they got their locations locked. Talk about having a wealth of time to do this.
Exactly.
And he'll not only shot list at the actual location, but he'll take photographs with extras in the positions and do some initial staging.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll never have time to do this, but just show me what that looks like and feels like. Could you imagine? I mean,
that's a luxury.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an amazing luxury. And things like that don't guarantee, obviously, that you're going to have a better product at the end of the day.
Just prep.
But yeah, it's more information.
Yeah.
You want as much information as you have, as
Yeah.
you can get to make the best decisions that you can get,
We
you can make.
We shot listed, the DP and I, the 2 Saturdays before we started shooting, and shot listed about maybe the first 2 weeks of shooting. And I felt like we were so far ahead of things. By the way, not shot listing on location.
Right.
Shot listing having been to those
Right.
locations.
Yeah.
What sort of either prep or epiphany in terms of the process?
Well, the great thing about one of the great things about my prep was that 2 weeks of it, of the 6 weeks, I had to go to London and shoot the Avengers. So that was another delightful, challenge.
Sure.
In the middle of it, which is unavoidable. They're in first position on everything. I had to do it.
And they make it affordable for the whole process and experience for you.
Absolutely.
Sure.
So I had to go do that and just kind of leave everyone else to continue on their path, and they were great. And I had the opportunity to come back and work with my DP, Roberto Schaefer, and we shot listed everything, a lot of the movie. And Pam was good. My producer was very good at coming in and going, scene 8, do you guys want to work on scene 8? She would
Great.
gently nudge us to do as much as we could possibly do. And we did a ton of it, and then we would get in the space, and it was like Tak would say, you get in there and go, okay, well, that was a good idea.
Yeah.
I guess that door actually doesn't have 12 feet of throw behind it. Why did we think that had 12 feet behind it? How did all of us not realize that that's not what that was?
Yeah.
And you have to be nimble, obviously, and you have to be able to move quickly and change it. And we never had any opportunity on my movie to revisit a location. That was it. We'd shoot at a location. Almost every location that we had, it was one and done.
Same here.
So there was no, I
Staggering.
saw the dailies and we can, no, that's good luck. I hope you like what you got.
Did you shoot on film?
We shot on film and we shot digital. We shot half and half.
Wow.
We shot all of the period stuff on film, 16.
Sure.
And then we shot with the Alexa on all of the other stuff.
And how much time for playback?
Very little. I mean,
Because you're acting in it, and I would think, who's telling you that take was fine?
That's what it is. You have to have an internal sense, obviously, of it, and hand it off and trust Pam, trust Lenore, who's my partner, and I've known her for many, many years, and my DP, and the other actors. It's a lot of times I'm looking at them, and you just know that you feel something that worked, but the days that it wasn't, the days that things weren't happening well, it's terrifying. And I guess to answer the first question you asked, what I would do differently is I would I would force myself to wait until someone was forcing me to stop. Instead of often being a Boy Scout and trying to manage the clock and being a coach and going, okay, we did that, we got that, and you're protected and everybody. Because the reality is, pros know. You know what I mean? They understand, oh, we're going to go over 2 hours and we're going to have to come in an hour early and we're going to force everybody.
Yeah.
And they're like, we know, as long as we're just not bullshitting, as long as we're really trying to do the thing, we have a sense of pride about this too. We want it to look great too.
Right.
So thank you for protecting us and making sure that everyone gets a good night's sleep and all that. But if there's days we got to do 16 hours, we're going to do it and we're going to get it done. And I think there were certain days, for coverage sake, that I look at it and go, man, I should have said, fuck it, we're going to go over 2 hours. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to be a super long day today, and it's going to be a fratter day and not we're going late.
Yeah.
But that's the one thing I would change. I would be less precious.
Sure.
And I would just be more like fucking balls to the wall and just go until someone literally went, you're done, and turned off the camera and started packing up and walked away. And I go, okay, well, I guess I'm done.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard when not just people pleasing and wanting everyone to have a great experience, but also having a sense of responsibility to the day, having been on various sides
That's right.
of the battle.
Yeah.
And when everyone is telling you you're the voice that matters the most, there has to be an extra sense of responsibility. I mean, it would almost be pure artist. You know, I've never had that experience or mindset that was just an artist. There was always schedule, a business side of whatever I was doing, even when I was just an artist that had been hired.
And I think that's the part that we should encourage ourselves to push more.
Let go.
Yeah, let go. Fuck, let her manage. She's
Yeah.
going to be the manager right now. She's going to deal with if we're going over, we're going to have to lose that and skip that. You do all that work.
Yeah.
I'm just going to grind and be in here and push it until I like it and not give a fuck. And then at the end of the day go, thanks everybody for, allowing that process to be that way, because 9 times out of 10, you're a good person, you're good to the crew, they understand, they want it too. That's the other thing. They're not there. They know they're making 4 cents. We're all making 4 cents. I spent more money on this movie than I made on the last 2 movies. You know what I mean? It's like they know why we're here. They're not here to get rich. This isn't the Marvel movie. This is a movie we're making for $8 million in 6 weeks in Cincinnati. It's like, yeah, let's roll up our sleeves and do the best thing we can do.
They're holding up a sign behind you, Don.
What does it say?
What does it say? Hold it back up there, Dr. Chen. Phone on airplane mode.
Oh, whose? Mine?
Probably both of ours.
Jeebus, what's going on?
In the meantime, take a beat. I'm going to thank our sponsor today, if you don't mind. Hey, everybody. Dr. Transition, they called me in high school. Yeah, Captain Segway in college.
Dr. Transition.
Didn't really hold up.
You were demoted from a doctor to a captain.
I was. Yeah. Wore many hats. See how this one feels. Week 3 of the NFL season is in the books, unless you're watching this live. How'd your fantasy team do? Did you win any money? Why the hell not? Now you can with FanDuel this next weekend. Go to FanDuel now. FanDuel, my friends and enemies, is the trusted leader in one-week fantasy football with more winners and more payouts than any other site. They're claiming this because it's true. FanDuel is paying out, brace yourself, over $75 million a week.
What? Are we not? Why are we actors?
I won $72 million last week.
Our very own Corey Levin
Yeah. I know how
won
to pick 'em.
72 of the 75 on average.
On average. Last week it was 70.2 million.
70.2.
Yeah.
Slight fudging.
Yeah.
FanDuel's paying out over $75 million a week this football season. Build your team easy. Just pick your players, stay under the salary cap, and sit back on Sunday and watch your team win. It can be that easy. And by the way, entry fees start as low as $1. A lot of stories, if you research this, about people investing 30, 40, 50 bucks and being that week's winner of $37,000. If you love fantasy football already, you're kind of an idiot not to be going to FanDuel and doing this. They've just made it too damn easy is all I can tell you after researching it myself. Over 1 million users have already won some sweet Cash-ish playing fantasy football on FanDuel. Dear Lord, what the hell are you waiting for? Go to FanDuel.com. Click the microphone, you son of a bitch, in the upper right-hand corner. It says right that in the copy, in the ad there, you son of a bitch. Use my promo code CHAT, C-H-A-T, and sign up now. You say you want to support this show. Well, thank our sponsor, FanDuel, if you're on your way there, and click that microphone in the upper right-hand corner and use the promo code CHAT. Here's what you get for doing that. Special offers for new users. Every dollar that you deposit, FanDuel will match up to $200. It gets earned as you play. That's a sweet bonus of up to $200. This offer is only good for the first 50 that use our promo code CHAT today. So support this show and have a goddamn good time winning some money, honey. That's promo code CHAT, first 50 to sign up. Dollar to dollar match up to $200. FanDuel.com, where every day is a new season. That's FanDuel. In case you don't know how to spell, let me help you. And let me know, also write to us if these letters don't sound correct. FANDUEL.com. Sign up today. Thank you, FanDuel, for sponsoring this show.
FanDuel sponsors everything, by the way. Right
Yeah,
now.
they're
all over the place.
Well, listen, if you're going to spend,
Yeah.
if you're going to pay out $75 million, you'd like people to know about it.
That's right.
I mean, I'm not only am grateful,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they sponsor the Republican debates? If
Well,
I'm not...
it would be wise. By the way, I will bet dollars to donuts they're going to be doing the same ad time buy during the Democratic
Oh, for sure.
debates as well. Yeah, because never choose sides when marketing.
No.
Never.
Donald Trump taught us that.
Yeah. Oh. Oh.
So many other things.
That's
It's
so many other things.
It's so much fun now these days as the Donald is starting to break down a diehard Republican conversation, because it was instantaneous for the bleeding heart liberals, myself included, to rush to, oh, I can't believe, ... he's an idiot, you're an idiot, ... this will never last, ... oh, fuck, it's lasting, ... But to now see staunch Republicans say, oh, fuck.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Oh,
No, really?
come on.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Watch episode 2 of South Park. They did a pretty brilliant job of going after the Donald without ever mentioning his name once, without ever saying that's who they were going after, and they just fucking nailed it. I don't want to give it away, but holy Toledo. Oh, I did have a follow-up question about your finding your place on that stage of Charlotte's Web. Did it also garner you larger portions of Salisbury steak in the school cafeteria? I mean,
Yeah.
I remember doing a
Lot of
high
props.
school production, and there was just a different way already. It had nothing to do with people looked at you and talked to you. Had nothing to do with show business. Had nothing to do with glitz and glamour, stardom, crap. It was just a sense of a curiosity. How did you do that? What did it feel like doing that?
Right.
And
Weren't you scared to do that?
Yeah.
You just got up there and did that.
yeah. And you were saying that pretty early on you were realizing if I lean on my back foot instead of my forward one, it's getting a better response. So when you're transitioning into fine arts at the Cal Arts, doing, you said more plays.
Zillions of plays. It was
Yeah.
great experience.
You're also already auditioning for TV shows, and you're doing a lot of guest star stuff, and then landed a recurring thing on Fame,
Yeah.
right? But then the world kind of explodes with excitement from the research, and from my memory, actually, being an actor and having my own big 1995, Usual Suspects and Casino.
Mm-hmm.
Devil in a Blue Dress was just a sort of revelation in terms of, because however audiences discover you,
Right.
that's what it means. That's so
Exactly.
regardless of what had been happening. And in my case, with even A Few Good Men a couple years before that, It came out the same time as my second HBO stand-up special, which I'd worked my whole life
Right.
as a stand-up.
Right.
It just, that film being a juggernaut shat on 15 years of a stand-up comedy career. Right. To the point of, hey, I also do this other thing. What is the transition like for you at that moment when, even though you've been paying your dues and studying literally since the age of 10, and the business of show sits up and takes notice?
Right.
Walk me through a little bit of that.
That was an amazing sort of this whole story of how that even came about was insane. And Tak Fujimoto was the DP on that, incidentally. So Carl Franklin, who directed Devil in a Blue Dress, I was in his graduation or his thesis movie that he did. What's a place right up off of the school out here? School, a lot of people have come out of it. I'll think of it during the story.
Sure.
But anyway, I was in his thesis movie, and I was 19 years old at the time. It was a really good movie, small film, about a kid who was sort of, prey to this crazy predator, and I played this guy who kind of was unknowingly giving him information on how to get rid of the dude. I didn't know what his issue was, but so anyway, I had met Carl, and we were tight and had a great time on that movie. But I went back to my life; he went back to his. So, flash forward however many years, and he's doing this movie, Devil in a Blue Dress. So my then agent said, "Hey, do you know about this movie? Do you know about this book? There's a part in it. You're perfect for it. You know Carl. You got to get in on this movie." And I was saying, well, if he knows me, if he, we know each other well. If he wants me, if he thinks I'm right for this character, then I'm sure he'll call me and bring me in. She's like, well, we've got to do everything we can. I was like, what can you do? Either he'll see me or he won't. So she goes, well, just read it. And so I read it, and I didn't see it. I was like, yeah, I don't see it. I don't see that mouse character as being me.
Because?
I don't know. You just read certain things and just kind of go, I don't see me in there.
Huh.
I just didn't see it. And she's like, you're crazy. You are the character. I said, well, I don't know. Apparently that I don't see it, and Carl also doesn't see it because he hasn't called me, so I must not be the character. And I really wasn't taking it that hard because it wasn't one of those things where you see the part, you go, this is me, I've got to get, how could,
yeah.
I didn't see it. I was like, yeah, I get why he's not calling me. I don't see it. So every actor that was my age, around my age, 5 years older, 7 years younger, my type, from New York, Chicago, everywhere, I had known had come in to read that part. And he still wasn't calling. This is weeks and weeks and weeks. And Carl takes his time before he does anything. And so my agent's going, I'm not letting it go. I'm not letting it go. I'm like, that's great. Don't let it go. But it's not happening. I don't care. It's not me. I'm at a dentist office. The waiting room is full. It's filling up by the minute. They've overbooked, clearly. It's packed. There's overflow. I get squeezed all the way behind the door. I'm kind of sitting half on a chair, sharing it with somebody behind the door. The door swings open, hits me in the leg. Carl Franklin walks in.
Oh, God.
It's the minute
chills.
he walks in,
I got chills.
the receptionist walks out of the room. He bumps, oh, sorry, oh, hey, Don. I'm like, hey, what's going on, Carl? The receptionist walks out and goes, there are too many people in this room. You two, go back there in that room.
You and Carl,
I swear
get
to God.
the fuck out.
You two, you guys, go over there. Go in that room. There's chairs in there. So I'm like, okay.
I need you two to be isolated. Have some time to talk.
Yeah, you two need to go in there.
Privately.
Privately.
Can I send you to a lunch?
Yeah. So we go in this other room. How's your family? What's going on? Have you been watching? You've been doing great. Yeah, you too. What's happening? It was just not talking about the movie at all. Near the end of it, he kind of says, you know I'm directing this movie, Devil in Blue Dress. I said, yeah, I heard. How's that going? Denzel, it's great, man. He's like, yeah, it's a big deal. I'm like, that's great. Congrats. That sounds great. No angling, no.
Nope.
Like I said,
Not even
I
joking,
didn't
how's my
see
part?
Yeah, none of that. I was like, that's great. Just kudos. That's dope. I'm glad to see this is happening for you. He's like, okay. I think he's kind of waiting for like when are you gonna put the hard sell on? I was like, I got nothing to say to you. If you have something to say to me, I'm welcome to hear it. But I don't. So we left the next day. I get a call. It's like, I don't know what happened. Carl Franklin wants to see you. It's like, okay. So I go in to see him. We walk in. The first thing he says is, you know I don't think you're right for this part. I said, yeah, I don't either. He goes, but let's give it a shot. Let's read it. I was like, great, let's read it. So
That's crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. So I read it. I was like, oh, maybe this is me. It started to feel right. And he was like, damn, it's really good, but I don't know. I don't know. I said, okay, well, cool.
Was it a physical thing?
It was an age thing. I was 10 years younger than Denzel.
Right.
They're supposed to be contemporaries.
Right.
He had, I believe, stuck in his head and that I was 19 years old. You know what I mean? It's the experience that he'd had on me with that movie was like, that's who you are. You're not this guy. You're that guy.
It's amazing. It's
you know?
amazing.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. So we read, 2 weeks, 3 weeks pass, nothing. I get a call from my agent. They said, he wants you to come in as the character. Come in and be Mouse. So do whatever you have to do, just be Mouse when you walk in the room. I was like, all right. So I got the suit, got the hat, boom. I walk in the door. Denzel's in there. He looks at me, he's like, this motherfucker is Mouse. What are you doing, Carl? It's Mouse right here. What the fuck are we doing? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, well, nigga, I know. This is Mouse. And so Carl leaves the room, and Denzel's like, man, you're going to get this fucking part.
Oh, my God. That is just fantastic.
That was really the story of how that happened. And it was a year. I mean, it was a long time that this whole thing was happening.
I've said before on the show, Denzel, I've worked with, 20 giant A-plus stars now in my supporting acting career. And Denzel's the only one who, in the film, we were going to play best friends, cops, and called me up. We didn't know each other at all. Called me up 6 weeks before we were going to start shooting saying, we're playing best friends in this movie. We should probably go have dinner or something.
Yeah, let's
hang out.
A bit.
Just a complete, simplistic, professional, obvious thought.
Right.
Had never happened before or since.
Yeah.
And there was just one of the more inspiring professionalism came from ACT, a theater, my hometown of San Francisco. One of the all-timers.
Yeah.
In terms of this is how this shit needs to get done.
Yeah.
That was your experience working with him?
Not exactly, but it was. We ultimately had a good. I mean, it was a tricky spot because, literally, in the movie, Mouse comes in and he
steals every scene,
fucking takes over, and it was created that way. It was like,
that was not your doing.
No, that's how it is.
You had to facilitate.
That's how it is. He comes in, he saves him, and starts. Who we do? What's happening? Let's go. And so the whole energy changed once I came on the set. And because I was so like you were, I'm like, fuck, Denzel Washington, this is huge.
Right.
I took it so seriously. I Templeton 2'd it. I was like, I went to Texas, I went to the 5th Ward, I met the cats at the ward, I met, the guys that I could find that were Mouse. I had a template, I studied, I hung out with the gangsters, I shot dice, I did the whole thing. It's like I tried to embody that as much as I could. And when I came on the set, from the moment I left, I was Mouse. I never came out of character. So I was so in it all the time that it just drew a focus. Do you know what I mean? And I wasn't trying to upset. In fact, I was doing the exact opposite. I was so enamored of him and my character. If you see the performance, I'm so enamored of Easy. Mouse is so up Easy's ass about everything he does.
Yeah.
I was just always just starry-eyed about him, But it was, I think...
he's too charming. Mouse is too charming.
Yeah, and that's the character.
Yeah.
That's the character. So
and Easy's representing the blues.
And he's got to carry the ingenue part of it. He's got to carry the part of the role that is not as flashy, doesn't get to do all of, you know what I mean? He's got to be the audience.
Smoldering at times.
Yeah. And Mouse is just a live wire off the hook. He's
Yeah.
like, that's the guy that I want to watch and hang out with because he's nuts.
Yeah.
And he was Carl's favorite character in the book, so that was tough too. Because
Sure.
I'd come on the set, and Carl would be like, look at this motherfucker. Mouse up in this motherfucker. Look at you, man. So it was just tricky.
Yeah. So then the business opens up, the world. I mean, there was a lot of attention on the film, and there was a lot of attention on you.
Yeah.
LA Film Critics awarded you. Was there an awareness of that happening, or just your agent telling you?
Well, I was actually on picket fences at that time still, and I had another year. I wanted off the show really
A
bad.
couple of years you did.
I did it 2.5 years, and I'd come back from that experience and I went off the show. Kill my character, do whatever you want to do, get off the show. My agent's like, that's kind of nuts, you know? It's one movie. I'm like, it's not even about a trajectory that I see coming down the road. I just don't want to be 12th man in this hour-long drama anymore and sitting in my trailer for 7 hours, and you know how that is. And they come in, they go, well, be 1 more second, and then 5 more hours, and they go, yeah, we're not going to use you today. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
I wrote a play during that time, which was great, and I had a great experience doing that, but I was like, I'm not going to become a playwright. I'm doing that because I'm
From a
stuck
trailer.
in this trailer.
Right.
So I wanted to get off the show, and I was like, whatever happens, happens. And it was just a big, that year, just, I think I did like 5 movies. It was just Boogie Nights was that year, and just a bunch of stuff happened right when I got off the movie. Off
Yeah,
the
no,
TV show.
97, 98 goes a little nutty
Yeah.
with an almost unfair amount of work. But also in there is the Rat Pack, 98.
Yeah.
You won your first Golden Globe
That's another great story.
on the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, it was. I had been offered the movie, and I didn't. They had never addressed in the movie, which maybe Sammy had never really addressed in that way in his life, all of the shit that he used to take from those guys, and just the jokes and the butt of the jokes and the I want to present this to the NAACP. I said there is. And I read his autobiographies. He doesn't really talk about it. I'm like, but that has to have. There's something there that we got to look into and deal with it. And the writers and I were going back and forth. The writer and I were going back and forth about how do we get this in? How do we get this part in? And he could never figure it out. And the time was coming to either say yes or no to the part. You know, we were going to go in a couple of weeks, and it still hadn't been dealt with. And finally, Carrie O'Salem, who wrote it, and I figured out that I said, look, all I need to have is a moment.
Just a moment.
All you need to have is when they go in on me, I just have to laugh, let me Pagliacci, and let me turn up stage and put a camera there and let me really then give you what's actually is happening there.
I gotta feel it.
You gotta show it. You have to let us know that this person is not just absent-mindedly walking through his life and not
Is
dealing
okay
this.
with it.
Yeah, and has to gut it and come back and be like, okay, well, this is what I have to do.
Yeah, it's one thing to gut it. It's another thing to not ever see the frustration.
And that's what I said. I said, I'm not talking about a scene. We don't have to give me a monologue where he rails or destroys a dressing room. I'm not talking about that. Give me a human moment where we understand that this is actually what this guy has to be dealing with at this time. A pariah to the black community because this is happening, although he's walking in the front doors and breaking barriers that no one... The conundrum of that has to be experienced some way.
Yeah.
So we agreed. He wrote it. By that time, I had 2 weeks left to do the movie. Now, as we know, Sammy was a gun twirler, played drums, played trumpet, tap dance, sang. So I had to get up to speed on everything he did in that
Dear
movie
Lord.
in a couple of weeks. So I had a trumpet tutor. I had a drum teacher. Savion Glover did the choreography which was worth the whole
Holy
experience.
Shit.
Which is worth the whole experience. Just having him teach me tap was like, that's what's great about our jobs, right?
Yes.
That we get the ability
The
to
research.
meet the research and meet these people that we're huge fans of that get to give us these pearls.
Iconic geniuses step in and say, try this.
Yeah, yeah.
How much could you possibly learn from him in that short period of time?
The pieces in the movie. Enough to do. I was like, don't teach me I just need to learn what I have to do in the film.
Right.
Let's just do that. I'm not trying to learn how to tap.
Right.
I'm not going to learn how to tap.
Make
but
me look like I know how to tap in this one move.
I can tap this. I can do this much tap. And so we got that much down, and I was able to do it in the movie, and I sing in the movie, which is cool, and all the gun twirling stuff and the drumming and the trumpet playing. Now I play, but I didn't play then.
Saxophone you play?
No, I played sax all the way up until
Right.
senior in high school, but started playing trumpet now for the Miles thing.
Sure.
But back then, Sammy played trumpet, so I had to learn at least how to finger it.
Right.
And I said, look, I don't want to just push valves down. Teach me the fingering. I'll learn the fingering for the solo. I said, I got to fool the dude sitting right next to me on stage playing trumpet. That's who I want to fool.
Wow.
Because nobody knows.
Nope.
Arturo Sandoval told Andy Garcia when he was playing him in the movie, he goes, just move your fingers really fast. He's like, nobody knows, and really nobody knows.
No, but you know.
But you know. And I said, I want to fool the trumpet players. That's who's got to go, do you play trumpet? And when that guy asked me on stage, he was like, you're telling me you play trumpet? I was like, I don't play trumpet. He goes, well, you're fingering it exactly right. I was like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah. And what is that? Is that just a personal best?
Well, for me, it's...
Because you're not going to learn it.
But you're going to, like with the Miles thing, I obviously got nowhere near the proficiency of Miles playing the trumpet. But it was important to me to actually learn how to do it. And even, let's say I got to where Miles was when he was 14, which is probably where I am now. My abilities are probably a good junior high school trumpet player, a really good junior high school trumpet player, not a great high school player who could become a professional
Exceptional
player.
junior high.
Yeah, I'm a really, really good junior high school player. But at some point, so was Miles. You know what I mean? So that was the process that I wanted to have inside of me.
But so what is that? Is it a self-respect? Is if I'm going to do this, I've got to at least be able to accomplish X?
No. It's really, for me, like an understanding. There's something that I think when you actually, it's not a trick. You're not gaming it. You're really actually doing it. I'm not pretending to play the trumpet. There's something about knowing how to put your mouth on a mouthpiece and how to produce air and play notes that is about your character at the end of the day when you do that every day, day in and day out. So there's something in there that's I can't quantify and couldn't say, well, that's why Miles X, and you can see how that shows up in Y. I don't know, but there's something about the relationship that I now have to Miles because I went through a similar experience that he did up to that point that you can't fake.
No, you can't act it. You're talking about an embodiment.
Yeah, an actual doing what you did, living as you live.
Yeah, if you want to be in the moment and never get caught acting, then just feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you got to know how to feel and when to feel it.
That's right. Yeah. I'm not showing you anything. I'm actually doing it.
Yeah. One question about the first Golden Globe. First of 3 now?
2, I think. 2.
I think. James L. Brooks plays on occasion at the poker game. And one night he's at the poker game sitting next to me. And he and Jason Reitman are old pals. And Jason's only played once. But that night they're both playing. And Jason's on his phone. And finally he says, Jim, you've got... Because everyone was talking about how Jim, before the movies, Mary Tyler Moore, Taxi, Cheers. Jim, you've got 19 Emmys? The Simpsons. You've got 19 Emmys? And Jim took a pause. He's got no ego. He took a pause and said, I think it's more. So when you just said 1, I think 2, the instinct is, oh, come on, you've got to know. No, I
say 20.
You tied on the first one.
That's right.
This has got to be in the trivia contest somewhere. So you tied with Gregory Peck for his performance in Moby Motherfucking Dick. How were you feeling then?
It was great.
Yeah.
It was really great to be there with Gregory Peck.
We couldn't decide if we should give it to Gregory Peck at that point in his career, having achieved all that he had, and doing Moby Dick, or what you did.
Yeah.
That's got to be way better than, I would think, better than just winning.
Yeah, no, it was great for the historical aspect of it, for the fact that, my parents are like, now we know Gregory Peck.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you might win it with somebody else, and they're like, I don't really know who that is, but like Gregory Peck, that it meant something to them was really cool. You know what I mean?
A part of a generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know the story, but please share for the viewers, listeners who don't know, when you won the second Golden Globe for House of Lies and how you decided you would bring it to work the next day or whatever day it was.
So I thought it would be very funny to make a necklace out of the Golden Globe with the wrapper chain and festoon my body with my accolades. and walk in to the set. Like, did something happen last night? You know, very modestly, like, I don't know, did anybody watch TV?
Didn't wardrobe set you up with
Yeah.
some special
So,
rig?
Yeah, so the props guy, so, you know, Parker and I, like, figured out, and we did it and like, kind of stuck it on there. And so I walk in with the Golden Globe to our table read the next morning, and there in my seat is a scepter,
Sure.
a crown, and a goblet. I was like, oh, so I guess it's the joke's on me. And they're like, yeah, and put all that shit on and do the photos with it. So I had to wear the crown and drink from the goblet and carry around the scepter. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, pretty spectacular. I enjoy the ocean pictures a lot, but what your work with Soderbergh in Out of Sight is world class. The film is world class, and your participation in it.
Thanks.
I want just give me a little bit about first working with Albert Brooks, who's just a personal hero. So I just need a little bit, anything that comes to mind.
No, it was Albert was very funny, very great. That was
Terrific.
actually going to be Gary Shandling at first.
Wow.
And I don't know what happened in that. I don't know what happened. I was going to do a joke, but I couldn't think of one.
That's all right.
So,
But Albert turns out to be a wonderful dramatic actor.
no, really, really good, and obviously hilarious, but very authentic and committed, and
Yeah.
it was very important to him. You know what I mean? To do it. But I love that first scene between us. He's just so deadpan and so, just so like, wow, I'm really scared.
Yes.
I really don't want to get raped. and I feel like that's on the table. So whatever I can do to make sure that doesn't happen, that'd be great, to not get raped. So we just had a lot of fun, and you know, George had a lot of fun fucking with Albert too. I think he did some prank with him with a watch, because Albert's a huge watch guy.
In life.
In life, loves watches, and George doesn't know shit about watches. So he like said, "What's the most expensive watch that you could buy?" And so the guy told him, and so he made sure that he was sitting next to Albert during lunch and kind of struck up a conversation with his friend and said, "Yeah, I was rummaging through my dad's stuff. You know, my dad said, oh, some stuff, clean out this stuff, and in one of these boxes he had this really old. It was old and crappy. It looked like it was old. I don't like old shit." And it was, and he names the make and model of this watch. He's like, "Oh my God, you had?" He goes, "What did you do with it?" He's like, "I just gave it to Goodwill or something. I didn't know." He's like, "You're an idiot. I can't believe it. Why would you do that?" It's so funny.
You had a 67 Patek Philippe.
Yes.
Did you realize what it
You
was?
just handed it to Goodwill? Are you insane? So he just watched him walk around the parking lot, just,
He blew his brain out.
Yeah, blew his brain out.
Well, listen. Also, the research shows that although Dr. Clooney is his now historical world-class practical joker, there's some sort of agreement the two of you have, or
Yeah,
so
to
not fuck with each other.
Yeah, because
Was that unspoken?
No,
Or did you
it
somehow?
was spoken. I was like, George, let's not do the practical joke thing. I mean, I know you want to.
You nipped it.
I tried to nip it. There have been small little skirmishes,
Sure.
but nothing like what he likes. Because he likes to plan for years.
Yeah. No. It's
It's his thing.
uncanny.
Yeah, yeah.
And at some point borders on pathetic the amount of time spent
Like you spent a lot of time
for a gotcha.
Yeah. But it tickles
It's
him to
dramatic
no
and it's a
end.
3-act play
Oh.
and it's Shakespearean in
Yeah.
scope.
And it makes him pee on himself. And, it's just he just loves it when it actually works.
Yeah. You must know of dozens. Soderbergh, before we move on, in terms of him being almost in his own category as a filmmaker,
Yeah. Unbelievable.
camera operator and DP and director, all in one. But camera on the shoulder at all times. When we were talking before about was there playback when you were directing yourself, I was going to comment that I had heard that John Huston, long before video playback, would just crouch down by the camera and close his eyes during a take.
Right.
So now you've got Soderbergh who's watching through the
Right. Yeah.
camera's
Sitting here like this.
viewfinder.
Yeah.
and everything is about an inch tall.
Yeah. Right, right. You know, and he finishes the take, you know, you do a take and he finishes and he's like, you know what I mean? Or he is just like, a little quieter, a little faster. Or he'll say something like, maybe he finds it funny.
See, I love direction like
You know?
that.
Of course, right?
Give me a direction of
Yeah.
an area.
Yeah.
Let me find it,
That's
and
right.
and also just knowing that by saying that you're instantly letting me know that you trust I'll find it.
And that's it. He's like, you're here for a reason, so do the thing. I
Yeah.
don't have to tell you how to act. You already know that. And let me just tell you what I see and kind of where my world is.
Let's
And
try lighter. Let's
yeah,
try this.
you can be inside these parameters. You can do whatever you want. Like when we did Ocean's 12, two quick stories about Steven. One is when we did Traffic. There was a moment where after Luis Guzman's character is killed, and we're walking back. I'm walking with this other actor, Kiki, and we're walking back from the funeral, and he's giving me this information about where one of the Obregon brothers is. And so we're walking, and Steven tells his AD, who's been his guy forever, Greg, has been his dude forever, and he says to Greg, so I want Don and Kiki walking by in the background. I want extras passing back and forth in the foreground. And Greg says, you want Don and Kiki in the foreground, and you want the extras in the background. He said, no, I want Don and Kiki in the background. I want the extras in the foreground. And he said, you want Don and Kiki in the foreground. You want the extras crossing back and forth in the background.
Wow.
And he just looked at him like, are you fucking? And then he went, yeah, I want Don and Kiki in the foreground. I want the extras in the background. Greg said, okay, go do it. And I was like, that was amazing. Because there was no, like, come here.
There was no ego.
Yeah. He
None.
just listened and went, wait a minute, and thought and saw it in his head and was like, no, yeah, that's better. Do it that way. And he goes, yeah, I'll go do it. And I was like, that is the kind of director I want to be. I've seen when we
Yes.
did Out of Sight and we were in Detroit on a freeway with a half of a van because we're shooting, you know, the back of the van isn't there. It's all where the crew is, and it's a half a van. It's 4 degrees, you know, blizzard. The rig had iced over so badly that the axle cracked and broke. So we had to fix this axle on this half of a van on a freeway at 2 in the morning in 4 degrees when no one's dressed for that. And he was just sitting on the chair, just waiting in the van. And I'm like waiting. I'm like, when is Vesuvius? You know, when's his head gonna open up? When's it gonna go? Because we were all at wit's end, and he was just.
Yeah.
He's like, you guys done? Yeah. All right, let's go. It's like, there's no for what? What's the point in any of that?
It's the perfect director's disposition
Yeah. Just.
that I've never seen anywhere else.
I'd never seen it when we did Ocean's 12. We hadn't seen each other for a long time. You know, it'd been years, and people had kids, and people died, and everything had happened. So Shecky Green actually came on, like hung out for a few minutes. So we come to shoot. Shecky Green's doing bits. Jerry Weintraub's there. Carl Reiner's telling stories. We're all seeing different groupings, walking around, meeting. 35, 45, 50 minutes. No one's working. We're just talking. Finally, we kind of settle down. It's like that situation where the teacher at the front of the class just is quiet until everyone realizes that, oh, we're in class. And we all kind of settled into our places and looked towards Steven, and he was like, is that where you guys want to be? Like, yeah. He's like, are you comfortable where you are right now? You think you guys good? Good? Yeah. Could you just maybe move back that way? Yeah. All right, go to lunch. And we went to lunch, and we came back, and on the floor, it was like a beautiful mind. You know, there were
Yes.
angles and
Yes.
heights and camera and lengths, and he had just mapped the whole thing out based on what we just naturally did.
Just fucking off.
Yeah, just how we grouped. It's like, oh, they're grouping kind of like, so Casey, you and Scott are going to stand next to Bernie, and then I guess Carl, you, Don, and Scotty are going to be over there. Okay. And he just used that.
Zen master. Yeah.
He's always directed like that. Like, you show me what you're going to do, and then I'll adjust and fix
Figure out where to put.
it. Yeah.
There's a quote in here somewhere, a brief conversation, or maybe just a question to PTA on the Boogie Nights. So we're porn actors. You know my parents were living, right? And there's stories of people not knowing what was in his head, even if you'd read the script, how are you going to do this?
Yeah.
So where are you at going into it, and where are you at a week into shooting in terms of seeing what he's doing?
Well, going into it, I still had a fair amount of apprehension because, yeah, like I said, this is subject matter that if it's not in the right person's hands, it could really, really be bad.
Yeah.
It could be exceptionally bad.
Sure.
Like, look at how far, look, it's just salacious and stupid and over the top. And Carl Franklin is actually the one who said, because I had gotten a call before to go in and meet, and I was like, I don't know, and I called Carl, and he's like, no, this dude's something else. This is the real deal. You need to meet with him. AFI, that's where Carl did the thesis meeting.
Okay, good.
And he's like, you need to sit with him and talk to him, and trust me, you're going to feel comfortable after you talk to him. And Paul's out of his fucking mind, and you sit with him, and, and he's like smoking and crazy and scratching his head and talking, and I was like, this isn't in any way encouraging me what's happening with us right now. And then at some point, just like kind of everything dropped, and he just was like, this is how I'm going to shoot it. This is what I'm looking for. I'm not here just fucking around. I'm for real. I'm serious, and I'm great. And it's going to be great.
And I'm great.
It's going to be one of the best movies ever made. It will be an instant classic. It's great. You're going to be great in it. You'll be an idiot if you don't do it.
Wow.
I was like, just for that, just on that pitch alone, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
'Cause I've never met that dude before.
No. Especially the crazy one or the silly and free spirit one that represented himself first
Yeah,
before he settled into
yeah. I'm a killer.
a mandate.
Yeah.
And then a week into shooting, you're thinking,
This dude is about it. This guy's great.
an auteur and one of a kind and a singular voice.
Yeah,
It's almost unparalleled, or is.
yeah.
Every now and then we'll get filmmakers like him, Soderbergh, the Coen brothers. They're out there who you only compare their new film to their other work.
That's right.
You don't compare it to the other films that are out at the time. And he's just that soup to nuts.
Yeah, and he's just such a theater geek, like Scorsese in that way, that he has so much vocabulary about movies and about the way to shoot, and without any formal training really, like a year at NYU, I think, and then it was just all American Cinematographer magazine and him in his backyard smoking cigarettes and pouring through it, just self-taught that stuff.
Ugh. And the vision of it, and also you've just got performers in that Philip Seymour Hoffman's portrayal of
Oh my God.
of a sad fringe nobody.
Right.
It'll break your heart
Yeah.
and make you laugh.
Yeah.
Everyone is Fred Molina with the firecrackers in the scene.
Oh yeah.
They're just moments that are as he put it, instant classic.
Yeah.
When you go in and out of films like this, like someone will say to me, "Hey, I liked you in X," and I'll engage, of course, but there's always a moment where I have to say, "I wish they were all half that good." And our profession is one of those strange things where we're not necessarily allowed to just make a living. We're held up to a scrutiny and a standard of our best opportunities.
Mm.
And then the stuff that comes in between,
Mm-hmm.
we do our best to pick and choose.
The carpentry.
And then you are a cog in the wheel and a gun for hire. No matter how engaged you are, you're not involved in the editing and you can't control the
Right.
product. And so, in and out of that carpentry, as you put it, comes, for me, the moments of special understanding and enjoyment when those amazing opportunities all do come together. So where are you in your mindset of what you want to do and what you have done? Miles is now, where are we with Miles?
It's closing the New York Film Festival on October 10th, which
Congratulations.
is great. Thank you very
It's
much.
extraordinary.
Yeah, I'm very happy. That's, I mean, as opposed, not as opposed, but in addition to being, terrified and completely apprehensive and nervous as shit, I'm very happy that, it's in that spot.
You've had screenings.
Several, not many. And they've gone pretty good. You know what I mean? Better than many.
Right.
But I'm just so, it's like I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
Right.
Yeah, it's just so wrenching to me, still.
How much time in editing?
Well, I guess all told, 10 weeks.
Right. And you have was your editor cutting while you were shooting?
Yes.
Right. So when you're done shooting, there's an assembly a week or so, 10 days after?
Yeah, horrible, yes.
Yeah.
The
Fat.
experience of
fat.
that.
And
not fat. That's what was the most scary thing. Our first assembly was an hour and 45 minutes.
Uh-oh.
Talk about coverage or lack thereof.
I think mine was 144.
I mean, there was not a lot of fat.
No. And it's flat, and it's without your notes. He had no idea what you had in mind. Just circled takes. It was great to see as a whole. It was great to see 40% of the time when he actually got it right. But because 60% is such a greater amount, the feeling at the conclusion was, why have I spent all this time doing this?
Fuck that up.
Oh, well. Oh, well.
Oh, and I guess, so we have to show this to people?
Oh, well.
This can't just be like the home movie that I made and I get to bury it now? Like, no.
Was there anyone you reached out to at that moment? Because I didn't.
Me either.
I just said, this whole experience has been keeping your head down, your legs moving. So watch it again and stop it and make notes. And I made 121 notes that I then sent him. And I just watched the second pass.
Wow.
And there's a movie there.
Wow.
So what was that transition?
I made one note. Actually, there were two. Burn it and kill me. The second note. I literally almost threw up.
Burn it wasn't enough.
No.
You needed to also die.
Yeah. I called my agent, I just say agent like it's this antiseptic thing, but he's really more like a partner and has been, really, we've been very close and working together for many years. And I said, and he reps a lot of writers and a lot of directors and a lot of writer-directors. And I said, basically what you said, oh shit, I fucked it up. I cannot sit in this editing room and watch this. I can't sit here and watch this. And he said, don't. I said, I don't know when I can ever watch it. He goes, you may not ever be able to. Don't. It's fine. Don't watch it. Leave. You'll be able to at some point maybe to come back and look at it, but don't. It's like I needed permission, to not be a part of the process. He's like, you have it. Leave. Don't. See you. Come back to it when you can. And I didn't go back in the editing room for 2 weeks. And
without giving notes.
No.
You just
literally my only note was, it's a disaster. I couldn't see anything but everything that I did not do. That's all I could see was every shortcoming that the film had.
Right.
And, I worried my wife to death about it. She was like, oh, no. Because she hadn't said, I was like, it's fucked. I fucked up. She's like, oh, no. And she finally saw it. She's like, what are you talking about? The movie's good. What's wrong with you? I couldn't see past it. So I didn't go back in for 2 weeks. And then when I could finally take it in stages, I'd look at reel one and I'd hold on to myself and I'd make some notes and things would get better and the music would get in and the effects would start to get, when it starts to come together and you see, like you said, the sum of its parts and everything starts to come together and you understand there is a film there.
Yeah.
But that first time I looked at it, and I first saw the first rough assembly of half of it when I was still shooting, which I will never do again. That was the day I literally got in bed and went, I don't know if I can go to the set the next day.
Wow.
My producer came in the room and I was in bed and she was like, what are you doing? She's like, I just watched the first assembly.
The car's
like, it's
here.
just an assembly, Don. And so I was like, I don't know that I can go to work tomorrow. And I did, obviously. And, somewhere in the process, she said to me, she goes, it's amazing that you didn't just, become a drug addict or quit or which I would never allow myself to ever do any of those things. But we know that people do. You know?
Yes.
People go, I'm not going to soldier on. I'm just going to fucking throw in the towel.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a breakdown and go to Rio and, oh well, default on all the money and sue me if you want to, but I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
But I've never felt so, I lost weight, I've never felt so
Ill.
exposed and ill and like I didn't know what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I had no idea what
And a sense that there's no hiding from this. It's a
that's
thing
what
now.
it is.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I've been exposed, and there's no one to pass the buck.
Yeah. And I kept going back to the email that came with the first cut from the editor saying, I've got great news. I've just finished the first cut, and I will say, even though it's the first, there's a movie here, and I'm so excited. And I watched it and said, there's no movie here.
Right. Right.
This is never going to be a thing.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. This can't ever be seen.
Right. Right.
I don't know that we have enough changes that we can make to pull this into a movie.
And that was the other thing. When I had no coverage, and I was, it was very Hitchcockian in that way. It was like there was no more to. It's like this isn't going to be solved by all of us coming into the editing room and looking at that one bin that has all that extra footage in it. There's no bin with extra footage. This is it.
Right.
We shot it.
Yeah. And it turns out the nuance of a performance it happened on set.
That's right.
But it happened from 17 seconds from that angle and
Exactly.
28 seconds from that angle.
Right.
And all the options you had as an actor, God, there's 9 ways to play this moment. It's just the one I choose.
That's right.
Is the same thing with editing.
And they're wizards, right? When
Yeah.
you have a good editor, they make your movie. They're wizards.
Yeah, and so I said to him, yeah, that's a movie. You're right. That's a movie. It's not at all the one I made.
Correct.
So this is now what?
Right.
He said, just give me your notes. I said, well, I'm definitely going to give you my notes. There's going to be a lot of them. He said, yeah, absolutely. Go crazy. Go as many notes as you want, And I said, well, we have to submit the film in 5 weeks. There's not enough time for all these notes. How many notes do you think you're going to give? I said, I don't know. So then I finished, and there were 120. And I said, I've got 120 notes that I need done first before I can step back and
Right,
give
even
you the
look at it
next
again.
300 notes.
Right.
And he said, oh, I'll have those by Thursday. This was Sunday. I said, you're going to change the film completely by Thursday? Because you have to.
Right.
That's what these 120 notes are suggesting.
Right.
Yeah, sure. When can you get them to me? I'm sending them now. And I got them Thursday night, and I was too afraid to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Because my concern was,
even these are not going to then do the job.
I'm kidding myself.
Right.
That these 120 changes
Yeah.
are going to change the experience of watching it as a whole.
Right.
And I will say that they changed it overnight, because I've been saying all along in intellectualizing, he doesn't have any idea of what the nuances I want. He has circle takes, and he has a script to follow. But on the set, we were capturing it, and I would say to the scriptie, that moment, I would point right there, and she would make her notes. But I wasn't doing that every take, and I probably did that at most 31% of the time. So how could he? So I could intellectualize that first cut's going to be horrible. He has no idea what I want.
Right.
But I also thought, I think he's done this so much. He's going to make me look good the way the cinematographer made me look good, the way the production designer made me look good, the way the actors make me look good. The editor's going to make me look fantastic. I think that's where I got tricked, because his job was to assemble a beginning to end.
Right.
Without nuance.
Right.
He was actually giving me the control that I wanted, giving me the exacto blade to describe to him as well as I could what I actually wanted to accomplish in the scene or the moment. And then once I did, it just changed.
Yeah.
180 degrees. And so for you, 2 weeks off, do you then make notes, or do you go into the editing bay and sit and watch, let's just attack one reel at a time?
I went back in and we just started the movie from the beginning, and I would make my notes and we'd go stop and go back and address them. And like I said, I did it up to the point that my neuroses would allow me to go. And slowly but surely, over the course of several weeks, we started finding stuff, and then finding out how elastic the movie is, and how you can achieve those things that you wanted, that you thought you could only get if you got, like you said, the 28 seconds in off this take and the 17 seconds in on this take. Once they understand what it is you're trying to do, they're like, well, how about this take? And you come in here and you're like, oh, I never even imagined that that was another way to get to that thing.
Yeah.
I guess that's why you do that and I do this.
Oh, you are going to make me look good.
Yeah, you actually do. Your experience actually has given you the ability to tell the story the third time. Because, right, that's the third time you make the movie, right? You make the movie when you write it, then you shoot it. That's the second time you make the movie. And then you have what you shot, and then that's really when you make the movie. So
Yeah, I'd always heard it was the final rewrite, but I wasn't told it's also the final direction of performances.
yeah, right, everything.
And emotion, because without music, oh,
It's unbelievable. And with the wrong music, it's like, oh.
yeah, and just the flatness.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We all know, and again, intellectually, what emotion music brings,
Right.
but you still
It's 80% different when you have the music under it.
easily
Yeah,
astonishing.
it is astonishing. It really is.
How soon will you do it again?
God.
That's a part that says never.
Yeah, there is a part. that
I mean,
says
I
never.
felt hooked instantly. I loved parts of it, the doing of it,
Yeah.
the magic of the moments that you're seeing happening. But the post, the prep and the post, I think, will.
That's so funny because I had the prep I loved, and because I love the puzzle part of it.
Yeah.
The problem solving part of it. But if we do this here, there's something that satisfies me about that. The
Puzzle
Sudoku
solving.
part of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then in post, not just editorially, but once we're putting in effects and we're getting the music especially for me, especially with this kind of a movie, the music and timing and getting the coloring right, and it starting to look more rich and starting to feel like the films that you've seen. Like, oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
that. The actual shooting of it was like the Torquemada. I mean, it really was torturous, and I think it was because I was the focal point of every single thing for every single beat. There
Yeah.
was no, I was doing jobs that were diametrically opposed. Do you know what I mean? I
You
had
were.
to have a granular understanding of a character and then a 10,000-foot perspective on every, not just character, but every department, every color, swatch, everything. So that sort of porpoising all day long was just so exhausting by the end of the day.
It's the part that I wanted, and it's, forgive me, but to have this sort of affirmation and confirmation that I was right to not do that.
Oh, I tried to give the movie away. There was a year where I was trying to find another director. I was trying to have someone else shoot this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think it was smart to do it all, not at this budget and not what I knew I was going to be up against.
Yeah.
If I had had $25 million and 12 weeks to do it, there would have been the opportunity to make mistakes and come back and correct them. There would
Right.
have been some, bandwidth to play around with. There was no time to do three. Literally, I did two movies, one movie in 3 weeks and another movie in 3 weeks, because once Ewan was gone, there were no more bites of the apple of that.
Yeah.
That's over. So I hope all that shit worked pretty good, because now we're going to move on to this part.
Yeah.
And it just was crazy and not enough time to do it. And
Crushing.
everyone's saying it while you're doing it, like, this is insane. You're like, I know it's insane, but like you said, put my head down, keep my feet moving. There's nothing else to do at this point. So I don't believe I would ever want to do it like this again. maybe play a smaller part in it, you know, because the days when I wasn't in the scenes, which was maybe a half day total, but that was when it was like, oh, it's cool. I get to sit back here in the pocket of the other creative artists.
That was a joy for me, and I
yeah.
wish that for you. I really do, because it's what you experienced in prep, and it's what you're experiencing in post,
Right.
which is just the directing.
Yeah.
And the joy of that, and to discover whether or not you want to do it again.
Yeah.
I think the question is now, do you ever want to wear both hats again?
I don't
Can't fathom.
I don't think so. I mean, I would like to say that, you know, when people go, oh, was it rewarding? I was like, I felt like I was on the back of somebody's speedboat tied by my feet. And I was just like, you know, trying to like, and they're
Not
going
just
through
drowning,
waves,
but being pulled
being
behind the
dragged
speed.
underneath. It's like, I'm just trying to come up for air and get a gulp before I'm going back down drinking fish shit. That's what I felt like.
Wow. Give me, I've kept you too long, but I need some, the documentary we were talking about before we went on the air.
Oh, yeah.
Please.
Years of Living Dangerously.
Years, not year, not the,
No,
years of living dangerously.
dangerously. And
How did it come to you, or do you, it?
this actually came to me from Jerry Weintraub, rest in peace, who is actually the reason why we started Not on Our Watch, which was our Darfur concern. And he had an idea in his waning years that he's like, I'm gonna change the fucking world, Don. We're gonna do some big shit here, and you need to be a part of it, you know. And it was like, I'm okay, Jerry. Everything
go.
that you say you're gonna do, I've seen you do it, and if anybody can do it, you can do it. So this was one of the things that he and others put together. We did it on Showtime last year, and it's just us, you know, me, Matt Damon, Ian Somerhalder, Arnold Schwarzenegger, just different people going around the different places in the world that are being affected by climate change, and how these effects are interwoven and affecting everyone, not just the people that are in those areas, but what the trickle down, to use that term, is going to be for everyone, and what we have coming down the road. So we did it for Showtime last year. This year we did it with Nat Geo Wild. And I went to the Central Valley of California to see some of these reservoirs that are virtually empty.
The farmland of the state.
The farmland that feeds the country, you know, 80% of the food comes from here. You know what I mean? And it's like, if we don't have, it's not just a problem for farmers here that, you know, well, you're not going to have almonds. It's like, no, the world's not going to have almonds. You know, it's huge.
Yeah.
It's a huge impact that the.
Where's the water coming from, since it's no longer there?
Well, they're pulling it out of the ground at a rate that is not sustainable, and on a trajectory to, you know, sort of be done with it in 25, 30 years at this rate, without there being a snowpack in the mountains, which the Sierras need to. The water needs to hit there, it needs to freeze, and that's sort of like our savings.
Yeah, we were talking about, because I know nothing, and asking if the Godzilla of El Nino is coming, so we've been told in November, how much effect, and it was, you were saying about the amount that has to freeze snowpack in order to...
Well, unless the temperatures cooperate, and it is cold enough in the higher elevations for that snow, that rain to turn into snow, and for that snow to turn into a snowpack, we would have to have 50 El Ninos, you know what I mean, to keep recharging the groundwater, the aquifers, and if that were to happen, then we're looking at cataclysmic flooding, you know what I mean, because of we'd have no topsoil from all the fires and the runoff. This is another issue that we'd have to deal with. But they're, you know, in the Central Valley, they're like, we'll take some flooding right now. We'll deal with trying to mitigate what that damage is to have water. You know, in the area that we looked at, East Porterville, these people don't have water. It's not like, oh, their water's low. It's no, when they turn on the tap, when they flush the toilet, there's no water. Nothing's happening. They're having to truck in water. They're having to do, we're seeing the scenes that we're used to seeing in refugee camps happening in Porterville. It's just up the street, basically, where their wells have run out. And it's $230,000 to dig an 80-foot well, something around that. So how do you do that if you don't have a yield that you can take to market and get any money from that to pay for these kinds of things that you need to do? There's equipment sitting in these fields just going fallow and just rusting, and it's stark. And then right next to that field may be someone who, there's a lot of billionaires that are dumping money into that area too, and they have the money to dig. They'll dig a 120-foot well. So now there's no water at 80 feet because it's all dropped down to where they're sucking it out at 120 feet because they can spend $2 or $3 million and put holes everywhere. And at this point, there's no regulations. Anyone can do it anywhere. If it's your parcel of land, you can dig as many holes as you want. You can go as deep as you can afford to go.
Oh, man.
So it's really for them, it has reached critical mass.
Sure.
And you fly over the areas of Sacramento around some of these, and everyone has a brown lawn because they are their proximity to the issue is very close. They understand it. So they're not spending, their pools are empty and their lawns are brown. They're not trying to live in the false reality that we have the luxury to live in out here, that everything should be blooming and plenteous and green and gorgeous. It's like, that's not actually the reality of the topography or the ecosystem that we live in, but we can afford to do it in the cities right now.
So the hope is to educate people with the stark reality of the situation and hope to begin a groundswell of awareness and conservation.
Absolutely. And behaviors have to change, on a level that for us will have been unprecedented.
Right.
Because we want to believe in unbridled consumerism and the free market.
It's what we thought we were working for.
That's right.
Or in some cases weren't aware until it was pointed out that it was a luxury.
Exactly. This is our birthright.
Yes.
I should be able to have as much as I want.
Yeah.
And grow and grow and grow with no limit.
Right.
My only limit should be,
or take as long a shower as I need to take.
Whatever.
Yeah.
This is mine.
I pay the water
I pay
bill.
This. Yeah.
If I can afford the water bill, how dare you tell me how long of a shower I should take?
That's right. And as I was speaking to one of the people that sits on this water board that was showing us all of this land and taking us over these reservoirs, and she said, in the cities, you will have a lot more opportunity to live that way and be that way, but you can see the effect that it's having, and who controls the water. And the water's moving a great distance from Northern California all the way through the center of the state down to us. And we also get it from below, and we get it from, what happens when the people that are like on that side of it go, well, we don't want you to have our water from the Colorado River anymore. Or we need the water here in the Central Valley. I can't get all the way down to you. Is it just money? Is it going to be who's got the strongest lobbyists? Is it about a political thing? All of these things are coming into stark relief right now. And we're going to see these fights happening, I think, big fights over water.
And Jerry's scope and idea comes to fruition with the film for Showtime and now Nat Geo.
Yeah, he just wanted to ring a bell, and ring it as loudly as he could and get people to pay attention. So he leaned on his relationships with the governor at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and different actors that he knew, because really, as our director was saying, if you're flipping through a channel and maybe you're going to stop because Matt Damon's sitting, you're going to go, what is this? And maybe you'll listen for a second, but that's kind of what we have to do as we're trying to also go top down. You're trying to go, like you said, a groundswell, trying to go ground up,
right,
so that people are first made aware of what the situation is, and then start taking stock of themselves and saying, well, what can I do? Where can I be a part of this solution? Because it may not be affecting you now, like we have as much water as we want, but it's real. It's not a joke. It's happening, and it's happening for people in a very real way, not too far away from us.
And you have to show them. You have to show people to make them believe. You can't just talk about it.
Absolutely not.
That's what's
They
great
have-
about this
they have to see
project.
it. That's right.
Is you guys are showing them. This is what it looks like.
Yeah.
This is not me telling you how bad things are, which you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and show you.
Yeah, and show you some people who are dealing with it.
Right. I asked Corey to forward me questions. He did from the internet, from folks watching live, and then I completely ignored them for 2 hours.
We've been here 2 hours. Jesus Christ!
By the way,
gotta get out of here. What are you
Tom
doing?
Hanks went 2 hours 42 minutes. John Landis 2 hours 52 minutes. I will not ask you to set any records here, but
71.
let me just give you a couple of these. One of the things we do, one of the games we play is a tweet 5, where it's just rapid fire 5
Ooh,
questions. Coke or Pepsi, this or that, no correct answer, but they're specifically designed for the guest by the fan. This first one comes from Jake Long at Jake Long Esquire, ESQ. Again, 5 quick questions, tweet 5. Is there a graphic we've already shown? Yeah, good. Ready?
Go.
Buck or rocket?
Buck.
Traffic or crash?
Shit.
That's the correct answer. That's the correct answer, by the way. Oceans 12 or 13?
Experience 12. Quality 13.
Kansas City Blues or barbecue?
Barbecue.
Turn or river?
Ooh, river rat.
Can't believe we never talked about poker.
I know, shit.
I was hoping
I had
you
a
would
big night
expect
last
it.
night, too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you play?
Commerce.
Oh, I read in one of the dossiers, thank you, Jason McIntyre, for a wonderful dossier, that you and the missus, it's become sort of a thing.
Yeah,
You'll go, let's
we're-
just go play cards.
Yeah, we were there last night.
You both went.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And you, and so what were fun moments that happened?
Well, the river, speaking of, I had jacks, which we both know we hate.
Nothing but death.
And are horrible. And flop came ace, rag.
Sure, you're in trouble already.
I'm in trouble.
Somebody called me with an ace.
That's right. So he bet out. It's just he and I in the pot at this point.
You're
He
going to
bet
play
out.
sheriff to
I'm-
see the turn.
And I'm out of position too. So I play sheriff to see the turn, which is an ace. So I'm sure I'm behind. But
There's also a rule that says he couldn't have one now,
That's
which is also
right.
a slippery slope.
that's right. But I didn't believe that. I believed he absolutely had an ace. So why am I still in the hand, you might ask? I don't know. So he bets out again. I float. And the river, of course, is a jack.
You got 2 outs.
Right.
As it turned out.
That's it.
Do we see his hand or he mucks it?
He mucked. I checked. He bet. I shove. He tanks. He calls. I turn over the jacks. He mucks.
He mucks. We don't know.
But I know he had an ace. He goes river. I said, of course river. Of course river. I double up. I text Bridget. I say, come get me. So it doesn't look like I'm just doing a hit and run. Say we got to go.
Oh,
so I'm
very
not doing
smart.
It.
You guys have done this a time or two.
She's like, baby, we got to go. I'm like, ah, shit. I gotta go.
Fantastic. They want to know about the uncredited aspect to Ocean's
Oh.
11.
Yeah, that was interesting. So we were in a process where
Vitalik Shu, I want to give the credit to, sorry. Vitalik Shu in the chat
Vitalik
room.
Shu. So here's the answer. The movie was getting put together. We were trying to figure out, because of everybody who was in it, how the money was going to work, how the credits were going to work. There's a lot of things to juggle. So we were playing with, Stephen and George, we're trying to figure out how the credits work. Maybe we'll do it alphabetical in order of appearance. Maybe we'll do 2 alphabets that start with, Andy, Matt, Julia, George, and I forget who, and then we'll start another alphabet. So we weren't sure. So we were doing the negotiations. During this negotiations, they'd cut a trailer. The trailer played. I saw the trailer before a movie, and the credits were there. And they were done in this weird 2-tiered alphabet thing. And I said, so I called my agent, and I said, I thought that we were still trying to figure out. I thought that was a negotiation. I thought we were. He said, oh, well, they said that you guys had signed off on it. I said, who signed off? Did you sign off on it?
You're my
He's
agent.
like, no, I didn't. I thought that you guys had all come to some agreement, and they said that this was the decision. I said, we didn't decide that. He goes, oh, sorry. I said, okay, well, then just tell them to take my name off the movie. And he said, what? I said, yeah, just tell them to take my name off the movie. You know, like Julia is as, you know, a special guest appearance or in introducing. That was
Right.
the cute way.
With
and with and introducing. So my cute thing will be that I'm just uncredited.
Yeah.
And
Why
they're
not?
Yeah.
What
He's
difference
like,
does it make?
I think that's a big mistake. I said, well, that's all right. You're my agent. Just tell them that that's what I want.
Yeah. People will see that I'm in the film.
Yeah.
Just
And I'm not gonna duck the press. I'll do the junket and
Right.
I'm gonna speak highly of the movie and all that. But I don't. Yeah. I'm good. I don't need to
Yeah.
be credited.
it's only because it was something you hadn't agreed to, and a decision was made
Yeah. Just on
while you were having the conversation.
is what's as I understood it. This was not a closed issue,
Right.
but they had closed it by making the decision.
Right.
So I was like, well, then I'm going to recuse myself from
Sure.
that.
I like that
process.
answer. I like it a whole bunch. Those of you that also wrote questions, I'm sorry. I've let the hours slip.
Terrible.
All right, so you were threatened with the Larry King game. I even demonstrated and gave you the demo of Thanksgiving. So, bad Larry King impression.
Got it. That's going to be easy.
Easy, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, people have done him as a woman. There's no way to fuck that up.
That's right.
And then as Larry, share something about Larry. There's
Got
been
it.
a few times where people are confused and shared something about themselves. Not necessary. You're Larry.
Actually unwanted.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Truly unwanted. You're Larry. Be Larry.
Got it.
Share something about Larry, and then go
Right.
to the phone, and the name,
Right.
of the name of the city could be funny sounding. There's your camera. When you're ready, this will take us home.
1972. Playing touch football. Okay.
Touch football is all I needed.
1972. Playing touch football. Was tackled into the ground. Rocks went into my eyes. I'm blind. These glasses are just for show. Pensahunky, Sacramento. Your question.
That's how you play the Larry King game. I have liquid in my lungs. I have fluid in my lungs. I stupidly took a drink right before he said, touch football.
Touch football.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Don Cheadle, sit there uncomfortably while I wrap things up for the
Do
folks
it.
at home. Next week we're taking off. I want to thank my guest, Don Cheadle. I want to thank Corey Levin for forwarding all that. I apologize to those we didn't get to.
Everybody. I think.
Everybody,
Right.
truly. Evil Dr. Chen. And we had Chris Boyett sitting in for the lovely Mike Duman. Jason McIntyre, Angie Johnson sitting in for the lovely Samantha Ward. And the world's greatest intern, Natalie Rosen, fucked off for some undisclosed reason. And Sean Case and everybody here at the West Side Comedy Theater, thank you so much. And FanDuel, go out there, do it, have fun, win money. I think, well, like I said, next week off, and then I believe coming back with Al Jean, but check the Twitter, check the Facebook, check all the ways you find these things out. Leave me the fuck alone. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.